Shahar, here we are. So excited for this conversation.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here again.
Very happy to have you here. Well, we're here at the end of March, which means that we're having this conversation while you're still in stealth. And
True.
so if anybody's seeing this before end of April, stop watching now.
Exactly.
Top secret.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, exactly. Because coming out of stealth in cybersecurity is a big deal. A lot about cybersecurity. There's a lot of excitement around coming out of stealth, and so I'm really excited for you and rooting for you. And it's we're going to talk about what you do today, considering that now you're officially out of stealth because we're watching this after at the end of April.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being here.
Almost everything.
Yes, exactly. Shahar, we've known each other for a while.
True.
Birthright Excel. Many different things. I've gotten to experience watching you from the side in a bunch of different roles, and not only professional roles, but also national sort of roles. You've taken on yourself quite a bit of work in the context of communication and dialogue in relation to what's happening in Israel since October 7th, all around the world.
Yeah, it's been, I think, almost a year of doing mostly this combination of, being with the unit and then educating people around the world about what it is that we do here and who we are, and only sharing first-hand experiences and the truth. And it was an incredible time, very sad, very overwhelming, but eventually it made a difference, and that was the goal. And I represent the majority of Israelis who just want to do good and to live in peace, and that's not how many people around the world perceive us. So that was my goal, but we're not here for that.
No, but it is important, and I think that some of the things you've done are also on social media, and so anybody can go there and see that. And you spoke in the different committees and in different contexts from the field itself all the way to all across different conferences in different countries. So very cool stuff. And today you're the co-founder and CEO of a new cybersecurity company.
Yep. This
whole series is about the way that AI and agentic AI is transforming cybersecurity. This is it. I mean, this is literally what we're talking about here in the context of penetration testing. And I'm excited to dive into all of that. How did you get started with Terra Security?
Yeah, so Terra Security came to life from a real pain that both my partner Gal and I felt in our previous positions, leadership positions in cybersecurity companies, that not just pen testing, but offensive security as a whole, pen testing, red teaming, ethical hacking, we truly view that as the most effective security capability once it's done right, because it has the capability of showing you exactly what an adversary could do had they attacked today. But it's just not being used by most organizations. On one hand, you have to do it, right? For compliance reasons, partners, customers, etc. On the other hand, they really don't have the tools to run this in a scalable and efficient way. And it is still 2025, and it's still a 90% manual work by skilled people who are hard to find. And when we saw that this is such an effective way of doing security on the one hand, but on the other one, it's just underutilized, we knew that there was something big to be solved. We just didn't know how.
Right.
And eventually, I'm not going to say the word AI too many times, right? But until now, people try to hard code and solve the problem of web application penetration testing, security research. But unlike infrastructure and network, you literally can't hard code complex attacks in web applications. You can't. These are multi-step attacks where you have to have real-time reasoning and adaptability by skilled humans. So we saw this blue ocean on one hand, red ocean on the other one, because there are thousands of pen testing companies and offensive security service providers, but no one has really found a way to make this scalable, accurate, efficient, and eventually, with strong security.
Yeah, and I think this is the really interesting point here. You're looking at a red ocean, thousands of offensive service providers doing this type of work, highly skilled labor, hard to find labor, non-scalable. Yet there's a red ocean for it, and there was a reason there was a red ocean for it, because of the large opportunity, right? The large budgets.
Yep.
And so what's happening in the technological space, and this is relating to the change of AI today, that is now transforming this and making it almost a blue ocean in the new world viewpoint?
Yeah. that was exactly, the conversation we started having, right? So on one hand, technology has evolved like in the past, dozens of years, right? It's not new. Yeah, AI is going to be an incredible transformation. But even before AI, right? Low code, no code, CI, CD, cloud, these technologies allowed immediate changes in web applications. In technology, we can shift software in an easier way, easier than ever, right? Like you can literally change a web application every 5 minutes. Like it's a living creature. And even now after AI, it's gotten so simple and so quick to ship new code to production that security teams just can't keep up. And then new technology came. And it's not just AI. Agentic AI allows us to really start, opening doors that we couldn't have before. Opening doors that until now were only done by humans. And not just to remove the human dependency, but to also make it better. So the way we look at it is, if we wanted to hard code complex attacks in web applications, we can't. It's impossible, in our opinion, of course. But if we can teach agents, AI agents, to think like a human and make a decision in real time, then yes, it is possible to remove some of the human dependency from web applications. So it's not just the new technology of AI and LLMs that we all use. It's the way that we can bring agentic AI and agents together with very skilled humans and teach them their work in order to open a door to an industry that we couldn't have before.
My dad works a lot in health and thinking about how AI is used to take a doctor and make them a super doctor. It's not meant to just replace the doctors now, but it's meant to give doctors now the tools to work more efficiently, get quicker insights and make more real-time decisions. Is that the right comparable here with how you think about it through pen testers?
It is. When we look at offensive security professionals, pen tester, red teamers, specifically let's talk about web applications because this is where we're starting, but obviously we'll go wider than that. People talk about automated solutions, right? Hard-coded solutions. We're not talking automated anymore. We're talking autonomous. But does it have to be fully autonomous? I say maybe in the future. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we'll get there in the foreseeable future, especially not for the deepest and most complex exploits and attacks in the way that we're trying to protect from. So we see that, just like you said about the doctor analogy, as this supercharges testers. If a tester today needs to spend 100 hours of one application, 90% manual work, and by the way, almost 50% of the time, not really doing the exploits, but doing adjacent stuff, why not do 10 applications in these 100 hours? And while doing so, why not do things that he or she couldn't do before, like run continuously, like get to the deepest ends of an application that a human couldn't do, like running multiple payloads at a time, like understanding the business context of each application and each company and each business unit better than any human can, unless you literally work 24/7 on this application that most of these service providers are outsourced. So this is how we look at it. We're not looking to replace every pen tester in the world. We're looking to make everyone better, more efficient, and scalable.
When you're looking today at the workflow of the way that pen testers operate and the tasks that they do as they're being contracted to do pen testing, what percent of that do you think can be today, using today's technology, what percent of that do you think can be used through agents?
We'll look at it today as anywhere around 70 to 80% that can be autonomous. And while autonomous, maybe we'll need some human guidance. Maybe we'll need some human approval because there are some guardrails because we're doing intrusive actions, obviously with approval from the company, from the client we work with. But I will lie if I say 100% because I still think we're not there yet. And we say it loudly. I think the best combination for offensive security is agents and humans augmented together. The agents never sleep. The agents have more context than human. The agents have better memory than humans. But humans still have the flexibility and the way of thinking that it will take time for agents to get there. Eventually they will, but I don't think we're there yet. And when we talk to, our biggest customers, they're not looking to, save more money. They're not looking to get a better deal for their pen testing. They're looking to grow the amount of applications and the frequency of pen tests that they want to do because they're looking at it as a very tough attack surface to protect against, which surprised me. I always thought that maybe, half of our customers will ask to just take the same attack surface, same amount of applications, same scope for a lower price. But, we've been in it for a few quarters. 100% of the customers we work with wanted to increase the attack surface that we're covering.
Does that mean that until today they've been limited?
Very limited.
As to how much coverage they can actually have?
Yeah, that's one of the pain points, that, large enterprise will have tens of thousands of applications. So not every one of them needs to be pen tested every year, right? But many of them do. Many of them do because you have to for compliance, but many of them do because you want to for security and you need to. There's also personal liability on board members in America. So they have a very large attack surface. For example, I'm not going to say the name, but one of our customers, they have 1,000 applications. 1,000. They have an in-house team of pen testers. They have 10 different vendors. Each one takes 10, 20, 50 applications. They still reach altogether less than 50% of the amount of applications, and they only do it once a year per application. But they are full CI/CD. They deploy code every few minutes. These applications change. This new code could introduce a new vulnerability. So in a perfect world, they would want to do it 1,000 times a year, which means one per application. But eventually, 1,000 applications all the time.
Right.
And this is the future we're aiming at, because our attackers, the adversaries, they're already using and leveraging dark LLMs. The bar to becoming a hacker, an adversary, is so much lower now. The sophistication is so much higher now, which means we have so much more to protect against. And the rate that we adopt new technologies is much slower than our adversaries, because we have compliance we have to comply with, and we have, budgets. And it's so different. So we see security teams struggle to keep up with the advancements of our adversaries, and we're trying to help against that.
Right. And it seems that, when you spoke before, it's not just about the coverage at any point in time and saying, I want to have, every year a coverage of all 1,000 applications. There's the element of continuity to it due to the nature of continuous integration, continuous deployment, right? The expectation is that organizations continue to improve on their applications all the time. It's not even on a daily basis. Now it's almost in a real-time setting.
Yeah.
It's a growing expectation because of the developments also of AI and the competition in the digital space.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about the expectation for continuous delivery of these penetration testings.
Yeah. So we're not the first ones who try to provide a continuous offering for penetration testing. And I'm putting aside network penetration testing. There are great companies who are doing great things. Specifically, when we talk about web applications, we already said that it's impossible to hard code the complex attack. So some solutions like DAST or automated pen testing for web applications, they're out there. But we haven't met one that really fulfill the needs of our customers, because it can scratch the surface, right? They can't do the multi-step attacks. So they'll create a lot of false positives, a lot of noise, and they'll be able to eventually, potentially find a lead that someone else will have to follow in order to find the actual exploit. But the expectation there is, if we could offer them something that continuously scans the changes to the web applications and try to exploit, because one of the biggest differences between offensive security, and I'm not talking about offensive for offensive versus offensive for defensive, and defensive security capabilities, is that offensive doesn't just try to find vulnerabilities and give them, a score, a severity rate. It's trying to exploit, which means if we manage to find a vulnerability and exploit it, it's not a vulnerability anymore. It's an exploitable vulnerability, and then we try to quantify the potential business harm. So they eventually would want to stop looking at the defensive security backlog of hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of vulnerabilities that are unmanageable and almost impossible to prioritize. They would want to know today, right now, what vulnerabilities are exploitable, what's the probability of them being exploited, and how much is it going to cost me. And we believe it is only possible if you actually try to exploit and not just flag a potential vulnerability. So they would want to do it continuously. And it's not really been possible until today, because you will find it, but lots of false positives without actually trying to exploit.
Right. What gets you so excited about this space?
I love it so much because every day I go to work, I told you, I had 100% conviction about the pain point. I wasn't sure, because in my last position, I talked to hundreds of security leaders, right? From practitioners to CISOs. And you understand that eventually what they would want is to go to sleep knowing that everything is going to be okay when they wake up tomorrow. And eventually, when you're in a large enterprise, you manage dozens of security professionals. Everyone, raises up and raises new flags, and you have dozens of security tools, and eventually gets to, a backlog you have to manage. And as I said before, it's unmanageable. So within the company, you create processes of how do I prioritize? What gets me so excited is I truly believe that not just Terra, but offensive security as a whole has the potential to bring the holy grail of cybersecurity to life, which is to tell the organizations we work with exactly what are the vulnerabilities they have to address today. What happens if they don't address it today? How much is it going to cost them? And also how to address it today. And instead of looking at hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities, we believe they can look at a few dozens. And this is manageable. And this will make cybersecurity better, and eventually the digital world a better place and a safer place. I know it's a big vision, but this is what gets me excited because I see the way that we develop our solution. I see the eyes of our customers lit up when we show them what we have done, and also critical vulnerabilities that we have found and managed to exploit and potentially save them billions of dollars. I see this, and I see that the world has changed.
And why starting with web pen testing? There's so many different types of things that you could have gone to in terms of focus. I mean, I get why focusing is so critical. But why focus on that?
So there are a few reasons for that. One, there are automated solutions for automated pen testing for network and infrastructure. There are great companies out there, some here in Tel Aviv, some across the world. In web applications, there are still good companies, but I haven't seen one that has lived up to the potential of continuously testing from the outside, dynamically, in real time, potential new vulnerabilities in web applications. I have not seen one. On top of it, most of the compliance pen testing people do is for web applications. And it's a very largely growing in a fastest pace than ever attack surface, right? We talked about before, CI/CD, Gen AI, vibe coding. It's so easy to deploy new software to production right now. And it's hard to keep up. When you combine all of these things together with the fact that also you talked about some, HR personnel, it's very hard to man these positions. And very often people, they don't have a tech background, right? They go to study 6 months to do web pen test.
Yes.
You hire them, you'll train them, you'll teach them the methodology, they'll stay for 1-2 years, and then move on to be a network pen tester and a red teamer and a security researcher. Not many people want to stay web application pen testers for a long time. So you also face a big quality variation. And it's not who the company that does the pen test for you. It's who is the pen tester. And you'll be as good as the tester. And this is another pain we're trying to solve. So on top of it, I'm sorry. We came from, I came from a shift left security company. We orchestrated a bunch of security solutions that are shift left. My partner has built and secured web applications his entire life. We love this attack surface. We see this as a way to flourish both for the attackers, the adversaries, but also for the security professionals who have so much more to defend against. So, all these things together, I can go on and on and on. This is where we wanted to start because we believe this can be, a great milestone for us to solve a pain that no one else has managed to solve before. And our vision is bigger. But we're a startup. We have to start somewhere.
And when you say shift left, what do you mean by that?
That many companies try to help you secure your product code environment from the earliest days of product development. To help developers write more secure code. To help secure the code after development, use it before it goes to production, et cetera, in many parts of the application, right? Code security, data security. And we believe in our Terra's vision, as I said, that shift left is awesome, but we're not doing shift left. We want to see the code hits the environment it runs on, production environment, stage, and testing, and then we're trying to exploit. If we manage to exploit, it's an exploitable vulnerability, and then we quantify. If we didn't manage to exploit, we can also show our customers that we didn't manage to, we tried everything, it is not exploitable, and thus you don't have to prioritize it. And that's something they want to know because we just talked about the millions of vulnerabilities. How do you verify each one is actually a vulnerability? How do you quantify the potential harm? How do you quantify the probability? So these are a lot of adjacent things that we have to talk about because it talks about the relationship between defensive security, offensive security, shift left, shift right. It's all one big industry, but our goal at the end is similar.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting here, I think it's really important to have both. You really need to have the ability to take the shift left mentality and say, whatever I can do in line during the development cycle and during the planning cycle, great, let's do it. But ultimately, I'm going to have my systems in production, and it could very well be that I missed things during the inline process, and it could be that there's new vulnerabilities that come out after I've taken the approach of the shift left mentality, and now I want to assess what's happening in the real production environment. And I think what you're saying here is that there's a critical need to be able to also look at my production environment and make an assessment on how the attackers see my surface and whether they're able to penetrate it. And what I like about what you're saying is that it's not just enough to see whether this is exploitable, but what is the magnitude of the exploit? How big, how deep can this go? And how much should I prioritize it? Because CISOs have limited time. They need to make a decision on where to put their eggs in the basket, right? And which basket to take. And by being able to say, this is how deep we can get with the exploit, and this is how much value we can drive from your company to us, that helps them prioritize where to put their time.
Yeah, 100%. And eventually, you talk about the CISO or the security professionals who work with the CISO.
Yeah,
they have so much on their plate. All they want to know is what to do now, and it's so hard to do so. So yeah, I believe in shift left. I'm a big believer of shift left, and even born left, the new categories there. But eventually, I don't want to hurt developer velocity. I want to be able to show the security professionals exactly what needs to be fixed, and if it's gonna go back to the developers, I want to tell the developers exactly what to do and how, all the way to even auto remediation, because all you want to do is just make their life easier. And we talked about the magnitude of the exploit, right? Also, what needs to happen for this to be exploited?
Yes.
Maybe it's a critical vulnerability for one company. Maybe it's a low vulnerability for another one. Where is the business context in all this? Maybe it might be critical if you get a super admin credentials, but to get a super admin credentials, X, Y, and Z need to happen. Maybe for the other companies, this might be low. But if you get a credentials and there is no 2FA in these specific organizations, this might be critical because they approve the SWIFT transactions. But under CVSS, this might be low or medium. And it has no relation to the business context. And I think this is one of the areas we're still missing in cybersecurity and in offensive security. What is the business context? It's unique to every company. It's unique to every application. It's unique to every business unit within the company. And it just varies. So giving a severity rank to every vulnerability without understanding and knowing the context, I don't think that we have the way to do that without saying that I'm just giving it a critical to, clear my mind that I told you it might be critical. But we try to not do that. We want to give them everything they need in order to communicate that internally. This might be critical for you. Here's a comparable breach. Here's how much this changes the stock price of that company in your industry after that breach. It's quantified. Go to the board, go to the finance with it. Or eventually say, otherwise, this might be exploited, but we don't think this might have a real business impact on you. Here is a way to communicate that. And I believe the best CISOs are the ones who know how to communicate the business impact and business context to the entire company, to the R&D, to the management, to the board, finance, security, obviously. And it's very hard unless you have very good processes in mind, tools, obviously. And we just want to try and make it easier for them. Translate everything to the potential business harm, to the business context of the company, so they can plug and play with, a report that is tailor-made to each department or each persona based on the language and data they need to see. And it's a very complex solution, very complex situation to be in. And, I don't envy the CISOs. I don't think they sleep too well. And these are some of the reasons.
Absolutely. Shahar, I think one of the awesome things that are happening here is that we're not only talking about a red ocean turning to blue ocean type of game in the context of your space, but also the way that you're building the company. One of the things that we spoke about before we started recording is some of the culture elements that you're bringing and how you're bringing AI native context into the building of Terra Security. And so tell me a little bit about those elements in your world.
Yeah. So when Gal and I founded the company, and we thought about what are our values? What do we want in our founding team and in the team later on? Who are the investors we want? One of the things we said in the core values is AI native. Because if you don't shift your mindset with the evolving world and technology, we think you'll stay behind. And what you could have done with 4 or 5 engineering teams a year ago, 2 years ago, you can do with 1. What you could have done with a full go-to-market team 2 years ago, you can do with 1. And not just the same thing, but also better. So when we hire new employees, new team members, we don't give them a different, an easy task of, R&D, build this and that. Let's see how you do that. Let's talk about back, front, whatever. We give them a task to see how quick they can evolve to new technologies they've never used. Because we don't just hire engineers, we hire AI engineers. And Gal is one of the best AI engineers in the world, AI engineering managers in the world, leading the world in the dark, because there aren't many companies who build fully agentic solutions. Some companies build SaaS solutions with AI layer on top of it or agentic layer on top of it to do some action. We don't. We build a fully agentic system. So it comes with how we hire people, with how we onboard them, with how we do engineering, with how we do our dailies, our go-to-market plays. We want to see how well they can evolve, and they become AI engineers in day one. If they can't evolve to these technologies, we don't hire them. So we're a highly efficient AI native company in everything that we do. We have a one-man go-to-market team. We have a small engineering team that works like 4. We talk about the agents as their team members. They have names and pictures and hobbies and characteristics and relations with other agents, because we have dozens of those. And it comes in every aspect of Terra, because we believe the world has changed. It's not just the technology. We have to evolve. It's the way we see it is just different. We didn't just raise the funds and went to hire 25 people. We hired when it hurts us, and every one of the people that we hired is working like 4 others, because they work in an AI native mindset that has proven itself to be very, very efficient and made everyone's lives easier, but also has raised the expectations very high. So it's a big decision we've made, but so far it's paid off beautifully.
Well, Shahar, super excited for your launch. I think it's such an awesome category. I got to experience the world of offensive web application security from my time in the IDF, and I just know how awesome it is and how creative you have to be and how hard it is. And I can definitely see how you're saying that so much of the exploration and so many of the tasks can be leveraged using agentic systems, and how, coupled with professionals who are highly skilled, you can drive, value that are factors beyond what a professional alone can do, and both in terms of coverage and in terms of continuity. And so I think that this is one of these spaces which is a red ocean becoming blue ocean, and I have that picture in my head. And I want to wish you best of luck in everything from the launch to continuing building the AI native culture, to continuing to get great customers and building the great product and expanding it. And I'm super excited to share this with the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure as always, and good luck to you too. You guys are building an incredible company, and I'm a big fan from afar, sometimes from close.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.